The winner of Best Animation, it is Amazing World of Gumball, everyone!
How did Gumball become one of the most famous cats in the world? Did anyone have the slightest idea that he was originally gonna be a dog? Well, friends, let me tell you that this whole idea came from ideas that had been thrown in the trash. So this time, let's take a look at the history and evolution of Gumball. As you all know, Gumball was created by the great Ben Buckley, but this idea did not come at the best time for Buckley. In fact, he was quite disappointed in himself. Ben had tried to get several jobs, but most of his ideas were always rejected. In fact, in his first job at the AKA Studios, he only had disappointment after disappointment. In these studios, Ben was dedicated to making commercials to get sales and public attention. But this never happened. In an interview, Ben said he was just wasting the studio's money for 3 consecutive years, as none of his commercials had even a little success, and every character he created for these projects was completely rejected. His failure was so great that it even seemed like he would enter a depression streak, blaming the world for not recognizing his talent. In 2007, when he decided to join Cartoon Network Europe Studios, he didn't believe his career would take off or that his name would become internationally known. At Cartoon Network, he was there for a while, only helping others to present their ideas. But at the same time, he felt sad about all the failures he had had after leaving AKA Studios. But luck for Ben would take a quite unexpected turn in 2008, when Cartoon Network made a call for all its employees to present their projects, including Buckley. At this point, Ben was quite disappointed in himself, and really didn't think he would achieve anything more than humiliation. But even with that insecurity because of previous failures, he decided to present his idea. The idea of this project was a school for cartoons, where they would teach how to be funny and everything needed to be a good cartoon character. All these characters would be reused from the failed projects and commercial flops he had before. In Ben's head, this seemed like the proposal of the year, and in fact, it looked quite promising. But everything changed when the producers thought the project was too sad and dark to be shown to children. This was because basically the idea was representing all of Ben's failure. So they gave him a second chance, which he could not waste, otherwise he would remain just an assistant. Ben reviewed the entire idea and made it much happier, transforming that depressing idea into something more family-friendly. And that's how this project was born that would become the Amazing World of Gumball. This new idea obviously was not gonna focus on something dark, so Ben had to redesign the main characters so Cartoon Network would be happy and his work wouldn't be thrown in the trash again. So the main characters we see in the series are mainly based on Ben's family. Richard and Nicole are based on Buckley's parents, who, if you didn't know, have also the same names, just like Anais, who is based on Ben's sister. For these characters, he took the personalities of his family and made them part of the show. They started working on the pilot of the series in 2008, and only gave it the provisional name of Gumball. What excited everyone about this pilot was its creative and inspiring design. Gumball was something really new back then, as no similar cartoon had been seen that stood out so much, not only in animation, but also the stories it told. Because, in case you didn't know, all the stories narrated in the Gumball episodes are mainly based on the experiences Ben has lived with his friends and family. This pilot served not only to see the path Gumball would take, but also to refine each of the main character designs, because originally Gumball was intended to be a blue dog. But due to Gumball's cheeky and clumsy personality, they decided it looked better as a cat. At this point, they didn't decide if Gumball should be a black cat, but the blue color was so distinctive that it made him stand out, since there are no blue cats. The first design they showed us of Gumball looks somewhat bizarre, since Gumball has a very square head and a somewhat lighter blue. And in case you didn't notice, in the pilot, Darwin was animated in a 3D style, plus he had a huge head and straw-thin legs. But the main characteristics of this series would be the unique animation style, as it's a mix of 2D and 3D style with real-world images. This interesting mix was a detail that Ben Buckley wanted to use to stand out among all the series, taking inspiration from the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit? At this point in the series, Ben felt a bit insecure about the animation style, as besides being innovative, it would be quite a challenge. This because all the episodes had to be filmed, creating 2D and 3D animation along with puppets and marionettes. Despite all these challenges, Cartoon Network gave the green light to this project, and that's how the first season of the series premiered on May 9th, 2011, with the DVD episode. By then, the designs of Gumball and Darwin had been completely redesigned, as their heads were more rounded and their eyes no longer took up most of their heads. A pretty curious fact is that Darwin was inspired by Paul, a real-life friend of Buckley, who spent a lot of time at home with his family, and whom Ben's father called him his adopted son. This situation he experienced during his childhood was fundamental for Darwin's role in the show, since he wouldn't just be Gumball's best friend, but someone who now was part of his family.
Hey, Anais. What's that you're drawing? And Mr. Daddy? And where are we?
From the start, The Amazing World of Gumball stood out for its wild jokes, that mix of animation styles, real-world photos, and stories based on the creators' real experiences. This first season had 36 episodes and showed us the way the Watson family lived. Both kids and adults got hooked on all these exciting stories, so it didn't take long to become one of Cartoon Network's most popular shows. One thing that probably no one considered were the constant voice actor changes for the main characters. This kept happening because the kids who voiced Gumball and Darwin had to grow into teenagers, so their voices matured as well. But it was Logan Grove and Kwesi Baki who sealed Gumball's success. After this, Gumball started winning its first awards, getting the prize for Best Children's Animation. So Ben Buckley's moments of failure had come to an end, and for the second season, Gumball returned with much more strength and a lot of creativity. The second season premiered on August 7th, 2012, and kept that success going on, but it did have some pretty important changes that year, because Gumball and Darwin's designs were updated. Just tiny details, but they definitely gave the characters more style. For example, Darwin's body shadow was faded away, because everyone thought he was wearing shorts, and they rounded the eyes of the entire Watson family. For the third season, which premiered on June 5th, 2014, one of the biggest changes came to the series. As mentioned before, the original voice actors had to be replaced, Jacob Hopkins for Gumball and Terrell Ransom for Darwin. This season was the only time Gumball's design didn't change, as the character's look remained practically the same. For the fourth season release in 2015, each episode continued pushing the limits and honoring the chaotic stories it told. But that year, one of the biggest events in Gumball's history happened. Most fans had become obsessed with the idea of getting a Gumball movie. This was a fantastic idea due to the series' huge success, and little by little it gained a lot of importance, but it also became one of the biggest frustrations for fans. Everything got out of control when, in October that same year, the creator commented confirming the possibility of a movie. And here's where Gumball started having problems again, as too many obstacles delayed the movie for over 5 years. This excitement cooled down a bit when the fifth season launched in 2016, which kept fans busy while waiting for news about the possible Gumball movie. But that same year was the start of fans' disappointment, as Ben announced the sixth season would be the last one he would work on, leaving everyone shocked and even disappointed by the creator's decision. Ben made this decision because he didn't want Gumball's charming essence to be lost, or maybe out of fear of failing again. But then the big question arose: could Gumball survive this change? That was something everyone was waiting to see, but the show had to go on. Gumball fell into new hands and everything got ready for the next upcoming season, and it was not until 2018 when Season 6 introduced another voice cast change. This voice transition happened in the episode The Anyone, a pretty imperceptible change, since it happened quickly just as Darwin's voice cleared up.
I do not sound like that.
Try clearing your throat.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's better.
And that's how it was confirmed that Season 6 would be the last of the amazing world of Gumball. But the final episode left fans so disappointed that everyone thought it was just a joke. This because it ended abruptly with a very unusual tone. The episode didn't provide the closure viewers expected, and its strange humor made people think it wasn't serious. This led to a lot of disappointment among the audience, as they were hoping for a meaningful and satisfying conclusion to the beloved series. To soothe this disappointment, in 2019, we got a gift with a miniseries called Darwin's Yearbook. This time, the main protagonist was Darwin, so most of the series focused on him, and it's worth noting that these were mostly clips recycled from Gumball episodes. After this unexpected miniseries, we got another one called The Gumball Chronicles, which resembled Darwin's miniseries quite a bit, and aired in 2020, exactly a year after Darwin's Yearbook ended. And then it was until September 21st, 2021, when we finally got exciting news, as Cartoon Network greenlit another Gumball series and confirmed the long-awaited Gumball movie. But this only made things worse for the next year, as in August 2022, Warner Bros. Merged with Discovery. This new merger brought many beloved shows and movies to be cancelled, and sadly, Gumball was one of them. And despite the great news we had received almost a year before about the movie, again, it ended up buried in uncertainty, along with the series. After almost 2 years of absolute silence, we finally got the premiere of this new series on May 19th, 2025. It's worth noting that production has mentioned this new series should not be confused with the 7th season. Rather, it's a spin-off titled The Wonderful and Strange World of Gumball, which will have 40 episodes. In these episodes, they mix current things like artificial intelligence, viruses, and many current events. And soon we expect news about the premiere of the Gumball movie. To finish, in case you didn't know, the creator of Gumball is allergic to cats.
I'm allergic to cats.
So am I.
I love cats, but I'm allergic.
So, if you were waiting for news, here you have it. Leave in the comments what you think about Gumball's entire evolution, and what you think of these new episodes. We read you in the comments.